Imagine building one of the most powerful business empires in history, controlling entire industries, employing hundreds of thousands of people, generating billions every year, becoming so dominant that competitors fear your next move. Now imagine losing it all. Not because of a war, not because of a recession, not because customers stopped buying, but because of one decision, $1 billion mistake, a mistake so catastrophic that it destroyed decades of success. History is full of companies that looked invincible. Kodak, Nokia, Blockbuster, Lehman Brothers, Yahoo. Each believed they were untouchable. Each ignored one critical warning. And when reality finally arrived, their empires collapsed. Today, we're uncovering the billion-dollar mistake that has destroyed some of the world's greatest companies, and why the same mistake still threatens businesses, investors, and even entire countries today. Because the biggest business failures rarely happen overnight. They happen one ignored decision at a time. Level 1. Every empire believes it's different. Every great empire begins the same way. Someone sees an opportunity nobody else notices. They solve a problem. Customers arrive. Profits grow. Investors celebrate. The company expands. Soon, success becomes routine. Then something dangerous happens. Success starts creating overconfidence. Psychologists call it the success trap. Past victories convince leaders that future victories are guaranteed. They stop questioning themselves. They stop experimenting. They begin protecting yesterday instead of creating tomorrow. This isn't unique to business. Empires throughout history followed the exact same pattern. The Roman Empire expanded until it believed nobody could challenge it. The British Empire ruled much of the world. Countless dynasties believed their dominance would last forever. None of them did. Businesses are no different. Market leaders often confuse being successful with being unstoppable. And that's where the first crack appears. Because markets never stop changing. Technology never stops evolving. Consumers never stop adapting. But successful companies often do. Level 2. Kodak's $100 billion blind spot. Let's start with one of the greatest examples in business history, Kodak. For most of the 20th century, Kodak wasn't just a camera company. It was photography itself. Its slogan became part of everyday language. People didn't say they were taking pictures. They said they were taking Kodaks. At its peak, Kodak controlled nearly 90% of film sales in America. Its profits were enormous. Its factories never stopped producing. Millions of families depended on Kodak to preserve their memories. Then something unbelievable happened. In 1975, a Kodak engineer named Stephen Sasson invented the world's first digital camera. Yes, Kodak invented digital photography. The future arrived inside Kodak's own laboratories. But executives weren't excited. They were terrified. Why? Because digital cameras threatened Kodak's most profitable business, film. Every digital picture meant one less roll of film sold, one less photo developed, one less stream of recurring revenue. So instead of embracing the future, Kodak slowed it down. Leadership believed digital photography would take decades to matter. They were wrong. Competitors kept innovating. Consumers slowly changed their habits. Then smartphones accelerated everything. Within years, film photography collapsed. Kodak filed for bankruptcy in 2012. The company that invented the future destroyed itself trying to protect the past. The billion-dollar mistake wasn't inventing the wrong technology. It was refusing to embrace its own innovation. Level 3. Blockbuster's $50 million decision. Now imagine being offered ownership of Netflix for just $50 million. Today that sounds ridiculous, but in the year 2000, that's exactly what happened. Netflix was tiny. It mailed DVDs through the post. Its founders knew they needed help, so they approached Blockbuster. At the time, Blockbuster dominated home entertainment. More than 9,000 stores, millions of loyal customers, billions in annual revenue. Executives laughed. Why would they buy a company that mailed movies when customers already visited stores? But they missed something important. Customers didn't love Blockbuster. Customers tolerated Blockbuster. Late fees, driving to the store, limited inventory, empty shelves. Netflix wasn't selling DVDs, it was removing friction. Then came streaming. Netflix reinvented itself again. Blockbuster stayed focused on protecting physical stores. By the time they reacted, it was already over. Blockbuster entered bankruptcy. Netflix became worth hundreds of billions. The billion-dollar mistake wasn't rejecting Netflix, it was misunderstanding what customers truly wanted. Businesses often think they're selling products. In reality, they're solving problems. The moment someone solves that problem better, your empire is in danger. Level 4, Nokia and the cost of arrogance. At one point, nearly half the world's mobile phones came from one company, Nokia. Its phones were everywhere, reliable, affordable, nearly indestructible. Executives believed they understood the market better than anyone else. Then Apple introduced the iPhone. Many dismissed it. No physical keyboard? Too expensive. Battery sealed inside? It would never succeed. But Apple wasn't competing on hardware alone. It was building an ecosystem. Apps, software, services, user experience. Meanwhile, inside Nokia, something else was happening. Former employees later described a culture where bad news struggled to reach top executives. Managers feared speaking honestly. Teams protected careers instead of solving problems. Innovation slowed. Decision-making became political. The market moved faster than the company. Android manufacturers quickly caught up. Within only a few years, Nokia lost the smartphone war. Its mobile phone business was eventually sold. The lesson wasn't simply about smartphones. It was about culture. When leaders stop hearing uncomfortable truths, disaster becomes invisible. The biggest risks inside companies are often the ones nobody feels safe discussing. Level 5, the real billion-dollar mistake. So what connects Kodak, Blockbuster, Nokia, Yahoo, BlackBerry, Lehman Brothers, and countless forgotten giants? Different industries, different countries, different decades. Yet the same underlying mistake. They all optimized for today's profits while sacrificing tomorrow's survival. Economists call this the innovator's dilemma. The better your existing business performs, the harder it becomes to replace it. Because disruption almost always looks smaller, less profitable, and less impressive in the beginning. Digital cameras looked like toys. Streaming looked unreliable. Smartphones looked unnecessary. Online shopping looked risky. Artificial intelligence looked experimental, until suddenly they became everything. History rewards companies willing to destroy their own success before competitors do it for them. Amazon constantly reinvents itself. Microsoft transformed from desktop software into cloud computing. Adobe abandoned boxed software for subscriptions. Netflix disrupted its own DVD business. These companies understood something powerful. If you're not willing to cannibalize your own business, someone else will. This lesson extends beyond corporations. Investors who refuse to adapt lose wealth. Professionals who stop learning lose careers. Entire economies that resist innovation lose competitiveness. Success is never permanent. Adaptation is. The world's wealthiest companies don't survive because they're the smartest. They survive because they're willing to become beginners again, and again. Conclusion: the billion-dollar mistake isn't making one bad decision. It's believing you no longer need to change. Every empire eventually reaches a crossroads. Protect what made you successful, or risk everything to build what comes next. The safest option often feels like standing still. History shows that's usually the most dangerous choice. Kodak protected film. Blockbuster protected stores. Nokia protected old assumptions. Each thought they had more time. They didn't. The next billion-dollar mistake may already be happening somewhere today. Inside a boardroom, a startup, a government, or even in our own careers, the future rarely announces itself with certainty. It arrives quietly, ignored, underestimated, laughed at, until it changes everything. The companies that survive aren't the ones that predict the future perfectly. They're the ones willing to adapt before they're forced to. Because in business, the greatest risk isn't failure. It's becoming so successful that you stop believing failure is possible. And that is how empires disappear.